details. Eric live.
Yeah, they can hear me talking. Oops.
Give me all your money. Get a fast car, it's about to go down. Ain't nothing but a heart. Don't tell me we're just chasing cars. I'm ready. With the body in the bag, don't let nobody see. I'll only take what I need. Ain't nothing but a heart. Don't tell me we're just chasing cars.
Yo!
What's going on?
Welcome back to Van Philosophy. I know we skipped out last week. Kyle was sick. And
It felt terrible.
now he's not sick. And then today has been such a crazy day. If you noticed there at the beginning, we had like some... I didn't notice that I had to change the
It was
thing.
the last one.
It was the last one.
And then we did it live. We changed it live.
Yeah, because I actually just got back from getting the oil change to go on, because we're going on that little run to Charleston tomorrow. So I just gotten the oil changed and like noticed a little bit of leaking, drove it back just to have them check it over and everything, and I had like 20 minutes to practice.
You text me, you were like, well, I'll get it all set up. You know, I'm still at the oil place. And I was like, oh, I'm running late, so I'm on my way now. So it's fine.
Yeah,
it's one of those days.
It's a day. But we've got a cool topic for you guys today. We're doing Alcatraz. More specifically, like kind of talking about the place itself, but the unsolved escape.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is really cool. But before we do that, we do have a show coming up tomorrow at Montreux in Somerville, to be specific. Mm-hmm. And we're super pumped about it. We can't wait. I still got to pack up everything, even though everything's still here. But we're heading out tomorrow to head there. We just released our brand new Patreon video. Mm-hmm. I'm Afraid of Americans. Mm-hmm. It's up. And we are actually going to be trying to do that one live tomorrow, which is pretty cool. I'm pretty excited.
Rehearsal sounded good.
It sounded good.
I was like, man, this sounds like the best out of all of them.
Yeah.
You know, like it sounds really good.
Felt good, smelled good.
Made love good.
Made love good. But yeah, we have that. And what's the other upcoming shows that we can let people know about?
I don't know, man. You just gotta go to
April.
Roshambeaux.com.
Yeah, go to Roshambeaux.com.
Yeah, we have some unplugged stuff coming up
Yeah.
in North Georgia, and but also like we're hitting Chattanooga. I know we're hitting Savannah.
Yeah.
We're hitting Florence.
Yes.
Like go
Yes.
check it out, and also I think it's on every page on the website.
Yeah.
There's a little thing where you can sign up for our email list, and we send you an email once a week. It's just one. It's not spammy.
Yeah.
And you get access to the blog, so you know what we're doing, what we're up to. We get the heads up on the podcast, and just little treats.
Yeah,
once
like
a week.
we're thinking about putting together a sexy calendar of Kyle in like fireman costumes. That'd be really cool. And also a happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody, which I was this close to forgetting that it was St. Patty's Day.
I forgot to wear green, but I kind of like always forget to wear green.
I got the green here.
Yeah.
See,
I have a little
that's
green in my
unintentional.
eyes,
It's
just a little
unintentional.
bit.
Yeah.
I have a green tattoo, but you can't see it.
Yeah. But yeah, but before we get into the topic, what have you been up to
So
this week? Yeah.
this week, so we've been talking about the GT1000 a lot, but I'm really excited about it, so I'm gonna talk about it some more.
Yeah.
I was going through practicing on my own, and I realized that the stock layout of how it is just isn't what I was used to and what I would do if I was building my own board. So I actually kind of went in and reprogrammed it, and it seems really fluid. So I'm really happy about that.
Yeah.
And then also I've been working on that case for it, and brought it over to rehearsal, and there was still a little jankiness to it, but I think I got it all fixed this morning. So that's
It's
kinda
basically
what I've been
falling
doing.
apart.
Yeah. Well.
You know?
Well, yeah, there's a rivet that popped out.
Yeah.
So we went with machine screws instead.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Whoever had that idea is probably smart. You know, I'm thinking.
Yeah,
That's true.
that guy that was like, hey, you should do machine
You should
screws.
do that instead of that because of the leverage.
I don't know where that guy went.
I don't know where he went either.
Just-
But
just-
I couldn't think of the word. Do you remember that? I was like, what is that? Leverage. Yeah. So
Leverage,
yeah,
yeah.
the whole thing. Yeah. This week for me, I've just been crunching, trying to prepare that song for live. Rehearsing. I got that video done. Got it done pretty quick. I was pretty. I wanted to have it out this week before we left. To be honest, I was like, I've got to get this done because this is normally the week that it comes out. I didn't want to have to wait another week and make everybody wait. But I'm really pumped with how it turned out. I was really glad that you were able to find some of that extra footage to help me out, so that way that point in time was like taken away from me, and I didn't have to worry about that. And I also have had a few other like concerns, but you can read my blog on that on the Van Philosophy page on the website.
Yeah.
So, but let's get into our topic, man. Alcatraz, which it sounds like a bird.
It does. Kind of sounds like albatross. Or something.
Yeah, like there's some kind of like fancy bird called Alcatraz.
Well, Alcatraz, actually, it started out. It was a fort, military fort, and then and I think in like 1850, and then it was a military prison, like 1910 to 1912. But the Alcatraz that we know of was a federal penitentiary.
Yeah.
And that, I believe, opened in 1933. The Department of Justice kind of like reallocated it. And the reason, that time you think of like, the Roaring '20s and the Depression, and there's like a lot of like organized crime and a lot of like all those crazy stories of like big mob bosses.
Right.
And, people, gunning down people in the streets with Tommy guns and stuff. And, a lot of that's, what's the word? Fancified, if that's the word.
Fanciful.
Fanciful, something, yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of it's true.
Well, it's like glorified in like different aspects of the story.
But a lot of it's true. So what they did is they made, because that prison is actually, it's a mile and a quarter, 1.25 miles off the coast of San Francisco. So it's just out in the ocean. And so they made that prison to send all of the really bad prisoners to. So it was like, you got convicted of, bank robbery or racketeering or, all those mobster crimes.
Right.
And were still too bad for the state prison. They sent you there.
Well, yeah, it's like they would send people there that were already had issues with reforming and that would actually like break out.
Yeah.
Like there was multiples of these characters that were imprisoned in Alcatraz had already escaped other prisons.
Yeah.
And were causing all kinds of like issues within that system, like not going with the whole reformed program.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so this was really tailored. Even like the program they had from like the warden, he was like super disciplinarian.
Yeah.
And he was like,
They called it like
teaching
the
us.
last option or the last resort. Or
Yeah.
something. Like it was
like you had was it 4 rights or 3 rights where it was like food, shelter, and medical. It's three rights: food, shelter, and medical care. Mm-hmm. And everything else was considered like a
privilege.
A privilege.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was their approach here.
So So it was adopted by the DOJ in 1933.
By the way, this is what I do when I don't have notes. I go words. Yeah.
It's just like, hey. So the building is a 3-story cell house. It had A block, B block, C block, D block. Warden's office, had a library, and it had a visitation room so people they could get visitors. And it had a barber shop of all things.
Yeah.
Which is important later.
Very important
Very
to the story.
important to the story
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
I remember thinking like, wow, they had a barber shop. That's weird, but.
Well,
But I guess like you gotta have a haircut.
Yeah.
It was just weird that they like said it was a barber shop instead of like there's some guy that cuts everyone's hair or something.
Sure.
But the cell sizes were 9 by 5, so you think like you could lay down in it one way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's only 5 feet wide, and 7 feet tall. So you know if you're a tall guy, it was like you kind of felt like
That'd be
rooms
awful.
closing out.
Imagine us like being.
Yeah, we're 6'4", 6'5", so like
Yeah.
the ceiling's like right there.
Right there.
Yeah.
It'd drive me insane.
So yeah, again, we kind of touched on like who it was intended for, but like Al Capone went there, Machine Gun Kelly went there, Bumpy Johnson,
I think Machine Gun Kelly, by the way, like I think his first name was George.
George.
Which is just funny.
George Machine Gun Kelly.
Yeah, that's why he had to change his name because like they're like, oh, here comes George. Like that doesn't
George.
sound threatening.
Yeah.
But when you say Machine Gun Kelly, that's
That
the whole
sounds
thing.
like something.
Yeah.
So, and as far as security, they were like everyone said they're like this is escape proof. They said like all of convicted people were escaping from prison. They're like, well, we sent them to Alcatraz because you cannot escape from there.
Yeah, because it was an island. Just in case we reiterate here, is an island outside of inside the San Francisco Bay, and there was like what, how many miles? 2 to 3 miles.
1.25 miles.
1.25 miles to land, which honestly isn't that far.
No, it's a good swim, but it's in the ocean.
Yeah.
And like, not a lot of people can swim that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can probably swim that across the lake.
I feel like I could swim that.
Maybe. I don't know if I've never really attempted doing a long swim in the
Especially
ocean.
if I had like a couple of years in prison where I was working out.
That's all you're doing.
That's all I'm just thinking about. I'm gonna swim. I'm gonna
just
swim.
working your arms.
I mean, I'm like literally like in bed doing this, trying to like train myself.
Well, the issue with that though is they did count checks 13 times a day. So what is that? It's like almost every 2 hours, a little less than that.
Yeah.
They would count everybody.
And I think at night they would do it once an hour.
Maybe that's what it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say they did a count, made
Yeah.
sure people were there, didn't escape. But on top of that, like all the windows had iron bars on them. All the cells were steel reinforced. Multiple sniper guard towers. A gun arsenal. All the guards had machine guns. They were like they're like, you are not getting out of here. 25-foot fences with barbed wire. So like they tried to think of everything. Like how could someone escape? Make sure we're watching everybody, check in. So they were like, no one can escape from this place.
And a fun fact, I think it actually was the home to the first light tower on the West Coast.
Oh, so we have some pictures.
Yeah.
We have I think we have a picture of Alcatraz itself.
Yeah, let me find this buddy here. Warp. That's you can see the little lighthouse there actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, like it kind of seems like you're like, oh, I could probably get out of there and swim out of there. It doesn't
It's
seem
not
like
that
too
far.
away.
Well, there's other islands as well close to me, right? So.
But the type of security they had, it would take you a while to escape from it.
Right. It almost looks like a fortress, like a kingdom of some sort.
Well, it was a military fort when it was
Yeah.
originally built.
Yeah.
And then also, I think we have another photo of the cell blocks, so people can kind of see like what
Yeah.
the cell blocks looked like.
There you go.
Yeah, and I think that actually, like, I found a bunch of photos of, like, you know, like Alcatraz, the tourist attraction, you know, but I
Right.
think this was actually from, like, I don't know if it's when it was operating. I don't know if you can see, like, are there people in those cells?
I don't know. Those two guys look really lonely though.
Yeah, it looks, there's 2 guards there. It's kind of hard to see into the cells.
Yeah, like in the
It's like
photo,
an
if you
old
look
photo.
really close and you listen really hard, you hear like this little like,
Hey man,
it's like a sad song.
see you in the chow line.
Yeah.
And then I think maybe one other photo before we move on. I think it's just called screenshot because I didn't rename it, but it's actually
This is the cell.
yeah, it's a map of the cell. So like they made all the cells this way, so you could fit a bed in there, and there's a sink. You could fit a sink.
What's underneath the bed?
I'm not sure. There's a list.
It almost looks like a guitar. They're
Yeah,
like,
well,
ah.
like there's a funny story about that.
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
get to that. But then it has a list of like everything that they would, you know, everything in the cell and everything that they would provide. Like, you know, you got to give everyone gets a toothbrush and.
They didn't include that in their rights though.
Yeah.
I guess there's a privilege to have a toothbrush.
You know what? Maybe they took your toothbrush away if you, like, you know.
That'd be awful.
Some
Like
psychological.
imagine someone's like you can't ever brush your teeth.
Yeah.
Like what would you do?
But you can only do it.
I would literally sit there and just.
You can
do
only
this
do
all
it to the
time.
guys that like want to brush their teeth, because I'm sure there's some people in there that probably are like, I don't care. I'm not gonna brush my
Okay.
teeth.
Yeah, I got
They're
mouth
like, you get
rot.
2 toothbrushes. You gotta brush them all the time.
Yeah. Well, if they're all kids or children, they're like, oh sweet, you know.
Yeah,
Like,
but
"Yay,
like I
don't
could
have
imagine
to."
like so you know, you can pause that later and look at it. Like those are all the things that like was in the cell.
Yeah, it's the layout, like the
layout.
expected what you'd see in there.
Okay, so this place is escape proof. All of the world's nastiest criminals are in there.
Yeah.
And so at some point on
And we're in the year
1962.
1962.
So at some point on late at night on June 11th, or early in the morning on June 12th, they're not really sure. People escaped.
right.
And who escaped? There was I think we can pull it up. There's Clarence Anglin. You pull up Clarence. You take a look at him.
That's a handsome looking fella. I think he's
alright.
related to James Dean.
All right, now and his brother John Anglin, which that's really weird to be like be in jail with your brother. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that! You can like you can show it and then make it smaller. That's cool. All right, so his brother John.
John has seen better days.
Yeah, he's like the less handsome brother.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was known by that. You probably couldn't say that to his face.
No, don't.
And
Yeah.
then you know, not unrelated, Frank Morris. There.
All right, tell us about these
He
guys.
was pretty good. All right. So Clarence and John were brothers, and they were, you know, did like petty crime, like, and they, you know, were in and out of juvie and jail and stuff, like when they were like teenagers. But they mostly would rob like businesses when they were closed, and that's like what they would do a lot. And then, but
Right.
they escalated, and they ended up committing armed robbery on the Columbia Savings Bank, and got caught. So that they went in broad daylight while it was open, robbed the place, got caught, and they were sentenced to 35 years in the state prison. And then Morris was also this was in Florida. Morris was also convicted of armed robbery in Florida. They ended up going to the same prison. But Morris apparently had an IQ of 133 and was like really, really smart. So one of the reasons why they moved him out to Alcatraz, because they're like, this guy's too smart for his own good.
Yeah, I think I had like an IQ of 188 or something like that.
Oh, was it that high?
Yeah.
I saw 133, but I know like everything I saw, they're like, this guy's really, really smart. We need to put him somewhere else.
Yeah, I think it was 188 is what they clocked him at.
Oh wow.
Which is like super smart dude.
Yeah, that's like Einstein smart.
Yeah.
So these 3 guys knew each other. Now there was a 4th guy, and his name was Alan West. And Alan West was a car thief in the 1950s, and he also went to Florida State Penitentiary. Now,
in this picture, he just smelled something awful.
yeah.
That's what happened.
So the brothers actually had multiple escapes from different prisons. They were in, let me see, they were in Florida State Prison. That's where they met Morris and West. But then they were moved to Leavenworth, and they were also moved to Atlanta.
Yeah.
And then they were like, all right, these two brothers, you know, they're escaping. We got to move them to Alcatraz, so they moved them. And they ended up moving West and Morris out there as well. So, like, precursor, they all knew each other before Alcatraz. So they all, you know, go to Alcatraz and they say, like, oh, look who that is.
Right.
Oh, that's Alan's here. And
They all
then a couple days later,
Oh, wait.
we're like, look, Frank's here.
Yeah.
And then they're like, we should get out of here.
Well, if you only have like
Yeah.
one like super mega jail, right?
Yeah.
And then all these guys, like they're all friends, but they're all like
They're all escape artists.
they're all
too,
escape artists.
You know, yeah.
So they're gonna send them all to the same place, and they're like, "Oh, my bros are here." So now we can like
Yeah.
formulate some kind of plan here.
So these guys, and Morris was kind of like the one that like was figuring everything out.
Yeah.
They're all working on it. So they devised this crazy plan. So the first plan, what they did is like go pull up the photo of the screenshot of the screenshot one.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to it. All right, so that sink. They basically went, you know, we can get out through the sink because there's a hole. Obviously, there's a hole drilled there. So their plan basically was to like chip away at the concrete that was around the sink.
Mm-hmm.
So you can actually go. We maybe move these photos, and then we can go to the tool photo.
Yeah, because actually, it's not from my. This is my understanding. They planned not to escape through the sink.
Well, no, that
This is
that was
an initial one that I don't know about.
This was the step one of what they had to do to because they had like a multi-step plan of what they needed to do to escape. Yeah, they did not escape the prison like through the plumbing.
No. Yeah, I know.
But what they realized is behind the sink there was a corridor that was unmanned.
Well, yeah. What did now? I could be totally wrong here. I'm not a historian. But if you look right here, there was an air vent.
Yeah.
And what they did was they pulled that off and they chipped out the air vent. They actually drilled small holes to the sides of the air vent and escaped through the air vent.
Yeah. So all that, there's a vent there and there's a sink there. So that was like the area that they decided that they were going to break out of their cells from. So you break out of their cells first.
Yeah.
So you can go what they used. This is hilarious. So I don't know how they got saw blades, but they were able to get some saw blades from somewhere. But then they also took like spoons. Mm-hmm. And then they took a vacuum cleaner motor. Somehow they like got a hold of a vacuum and disassembled it and made a drill.
Yeah.
To drill through with the spoons and blades and things like that. So this is actually a photo of it.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, because like through those air ducts, because it was like maybe like about 1.5 feet, I think, wide. Mm-hmm. And these guys, they weren't like super huge dudes, but they weren't tiny guys either. Mm-hmm. So like what they would do is they would drill small holes in the sides of it to break it down, and they would use the spoons to try to like carve at it while they're doing this. While one dude is actually he would actually playing
the accordion.
Play the accordion to cover up the noise.
Because one of the privileges is that like they'd get an hour of music a day where they play instruments. So one guy's like, I'm gonna play the accordion because it's loud.
Right.
So one guy would stand and play accordion real loud, and it was drilling and stuff and scratching. And no one caught him.
Well, what they would do, and you'd think like, well, why can't you just see them? But they would actually like place things in front of it. It was as easy as that, which is strange. Like they would place like cases and like old cardboard and stuff, and like put just pieces right in front to hide what they've been doing. But you'd think like, why are they not like?
Well, and also what they did, and I don't know exactly how they did it, but they made like some type of like faux concrete or cement to kind of like cover up what they did.
Yeah.
That they could like easily remove the next day. And I don't know, like I know they use.
I didn't hear about that.
I know they use concrete dust, but that was one of the reasons why Alan didn't escape.
He couldn't carve out the hole in time.
Well, he did carve out the hole because like,
but not in time. They were already gone.
Well, what happened is it took him about 6 months for this stage just to be able to leave your cell and go into the corridor.
Yeah.
And all of them were able to do that, so they all made the hole big enough. So the next photo, you can put the workshop.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, once they were able to get out of their cells after 6 months of drilling and digging and covering it up inconspicuously, they found this access to this corridor that no one patrolled. It was like a utility corridor, and so that is where they like devised the next step of the plan. So like, you know, they would sit and go, okay, well they're gonna check the beds at this time, and then as soon as they check, you get up out of your cell, you crawl through the hole that you made, cover it up, and then meet in the utility closet. And then, so what they did is they would steal raincoats. And I don't know how they were able to steal this many, but I guess like, you know, over months and months and months, you know, say, oh, I lost my raincoat, and oh, I stole someone else's raincoat over there. Just able to get raincoats, and they were able to build a 6 by 14 foot raft.
Yeah, it was a total of 50 raincoats.
Yeah, 50 raincoats. So,
yeah.
And they stitched it together, and like those pipes had like they were hot, so they actually like did like what is it like the rubber weld?
Yeah,
like,
they would use
seams.
They would use the steam coming out
to melt. Yeah. The seams, so that way it was waterproof.
Right.
So they did that, so they're able to you know, it's like another couple of months of, you know, crawling out of their cells and assembling this late at night, and then crawling back in their cells and pretending like nothing happened. So then they got that made, and then they went, well, we're ready to go, but we need to make. Someone had the idea to make dummies, because then that way when people would come check the beds at night, they would see that someone was in there. And then in the morning, you know, when they do roll call, they'd see like, oh, you know, how come someone's not coming out of their cell? And be like, oh, they're still asleep. Well, get up there and wake them up, you know, and that would take time to do that. So I think we have a photo of...
the paper mache.
Yeah. So what they did is they made a paper mache out of soap, toothpaste, concrete dust, and toilet paper and paint from the supply shed, and then hair from the barber shop.
Yeah.
And like these things, like, you know, from across the hallway, like those are
not
pretty
bad.
good.
Yeah, it's
you
not
know
bad.
What I mean, and then you know, like pillows and whatever they could find to kind
What do
of.
you think those are auctioning for?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like
$2 billion.
So then
buy you one now.
They made those.
Yeah.
So on the night of the escape, and I don't have that much. They said like I guess they made some kind of like dummy cement, I guess, to like, and I don't know exactly what it was, but it was basically like whatever they were covering up the holes with. And apparently Alan's had hardened, and he wasn't able to chip away at it fast enough to escape in time. So the other three went out, and then he was the one that was like kind of like able to explain everything. So what they did is they got out, they got their raft, they you know, put the dummies in place, and they actually climbed up a ventilation shaft up to the roof. So they escaped from their cells, they escaped to the corridor, and then they, you know, found access to a ventilation shaft, so that they actually had to crawl up all the way up to the roof. And I don't know what floor they're on, like maybe they're on the 3rd floor.
Right.
I'm not exactly sure what block they were in. But what was crazy and how they almost got caught, but it was just due to a guard like not doing his job. there was a big cover on the vent, and they actually had to like break it to get out. So they're like banging on it and broke it, and like all the guards heard it, and they're like, "What was that?" And they're like, "Oh, that's probably nothing." and like hours went by, so they got out and escaped. And you know, the next morning, you know, they did bed checks all throughout the night. Next morning, they're calling. They're like, "All right, you know, Anglin, what's going on with Anglin? Oh, he's sleeping. We'll wake him up.
Yeah.
All right, roll call. All right. Weston escaped, and then Morris. What's Morris? He's still sleeping. What's he doing? We're gonna take away his toothbrush or whatever.
We're gonna take his toothbrush.
So then the guards break in and they're like, "Wake up, wake up!" You know, like, "What are you doing? You know, it's time to get up and eat breakfast and go get exercise or whatever it was." And they go and shake the body and then like realize like it's pillows and this paper mache head.
Yeah.
So then they're like, "What the hell happened?" So they're like going through and realizing that like there's holes in the walls, and then realizing that it leads to this corridor, and they're like, you know, and it took them a while to figure out what happened. So they're like, where did they go? Like maybe they're still in the prison, because like obviously you can't escape, you know. And then they found the ventilation shaft, and then, you know, looked up and saw that the grate was removed and went, "That was that noise last night. Oh shit, we're all fired." And so for the next 10 days, like they had the military, they had, you know, the FBI, they had local law enforcement, and they're all like just launching this huge investigation. Had the Coast Guard out.
Yeah. Aaron says here, that's why you're supposed to make sure that they're breathing when doing the checks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole thing, man. And I don't know, like, how, I mean, I guess I don't know if you can hear it. I mean, I don't know if I could, like, really hone in if, like, Kyle was breathing in that room, but had to stand outside of it and make sure he was breathing. I don't know if I could do that.
I'm imagining, like, when you're the guard doing that, like, you're not going to open the door.
Yeah.
You're like, probably shining a flashlight in.
Yeah, I guess you could see, like,
the body asleep.
You could see this. You know, going.
Maybe, but I mean, like, but like, how many inmates were in there?
Yeah, 200.
You know, like three floors, 4 blocks.
Yeah.
And, you know, so you're going up, and you're probably just like, "Yeah, I see a body. Yeah, he's in there. Yeah, he's in there." You know.
Right.
And like, and especially like, if you ever do that every hour, only, you know, I mean, like, it becomes so routine. Like,
Yeah, so mundane. You're like, they're not
you
leaving.
you checked out. You
Whole
know
thing.
what I mean?
Oh, by the way, what's up, Anton? How you doing, man?
Oh, what's going on, man?
And what's going on, Rachel? We are excited to see you at Montrose, man. Erin does say, she followed up here and said, "Watch for the chest to rise." Yeah.
Unless maybe you sleep like this.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, I don't know. Can you see, like, if I'm like this? Like,
I sleep.
I mean, you can see my shoulders move a little bit, I guess.
I sleep butt up.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in fetal position, but face down.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I don't do that. You know that. You know I don't do that.
Like this.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm sure it had to just be like, it was a routine job, and they did it all the time.
Yeah.
And like, you're not paying attention on autopilot, you know.
Yeah.
All
right, so they got out. They figured out that they've gotten out. They've escaped.
Yeah, they got out. So they're like combing the bay, and they found one of the paddles, because they made paddles as well.
Yeah.
They found one of the paddles. They found like an address book of Anglin's like family contacts, like phone numbers and addresses, wrapped in plastic. And then they made life jackets as well. Mm-hmm. So they found a life jacket, and that's really all they found. And so the FBI, they were like, "Okay, they drowned." They're like, "Man, make sure you tell the public that they all drowned."
Right. Well, like, one of the big fictions of it is they would say that people would die of hypothermia if they were to swim in the waters, or they would say that they'd get attacked by sharks, which in that area, like, back then they didn't know, but like we know now, and in that area there's no actual like threatening human sharks. They're all bottom feeder sharks that are down there.
Well, and there's so much activity through there as
Yeah.
well. So it's like most animals. It's like someone was explaining to me this the other day about how like you're probably not going to get bit by a spider if you're always like walking through there.
Right.
You know, but if you go like in some shed and you haven't been in there in 6 months, like there's probably snakes and spiders in there. But otherwise, stuff's going to stay away when there's a lot of human activity.
Yeah.
So they were like, they kind of said like, you're not going to find a body in the ocean, you know. But the funny thing is like multiple bodies have been found. Like since they've escaped, they found lots of bodies in that area that have like washed up. And they found one. It was like the month after they found a body, and they're like, oh, it's one of them. And they went and looked, and it wasn't. It was actually like someone that was reported missing. That was unrelated. So you're able to find bodies in that bay.
Yeah.
And
well, I believe like after they were combing everything, which every time someone says they're combing the area, it makes me think of Spaceballs. They're like, comb the desert. We ain't found shit. And he had like the afro cut. I always think about that. But they combed the area there over the entire prison. They checked the size of everything. And they did check the surrounding islands, and I believe they did find a piece of raincoat and something else on Angel Island, which is like right there.
Yeah, I think they found a life jacket.
Yeah, life jacket. Okay. Yeah.
So the FBI was like, no, they're dead.
Yeah, they're like they're dead, but somehow this stuff ended up over there.
But the thing is it was like the FBI definitely did not believe that they were dead.
Sure.
They just said that they were dead because they were like. They were actively working on the case for like 17 years after. And there's actually like, the family now has come out like in the past like 20 years and said like they found like evidence of wiretapping in their house and stuff like that. So like the FBI was looking for them.
Right.
For a very long time. So they definitely did not believe that they were dead. They just told everyone to say that they were dead.
Right, so this inescapable prison that people escaped from. And the thing is, too, though, this wasn't the only escape attempt. There was like 13 others, I believe, before that. And people were killed over it. People were injured because of it. They were also detained again because of it. This is the only time that it actually happened.
Yeah, and they weren't caught.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they had like sniper towers, 25-foot fences, lights, machine gun arsenals. Like they were ready for people to try to escape.
Right.
But they just assumed that like someone would break out of their cell and just run, and they weren't like escape. They weren't planning for someone to take 6 months to figure out how to break out of their cell and make sure that was cool for a couple months, and then find a corridor to work on something for a couple months, and then make dummies. And like they weren't thinking that way. They were just thinking like, well, if someone just kind of just runs, we'll get them.
How shitty for Alan, man. You like realize like, oh man, we made it. Like this is like the one time it's really working. Yeah. And you couldn't get your hole big enough in time.
Yeah. Yeah. And you had worked on it for months and months and months. But like the way that they were covering it up, like something went bad and something, wasn't supposed to harden a certain way.
Yeah.
And we put too much.
See, I didn't even hear about the stuff that they would use. That's interesting.
Yeah, it was like I'm assuming it was like probably like plaster or putty or something that like looks like concrete.
Right. I didn't come across any of that in my research. They were saying like they covered up with like cardboard and things.
Yeah. Well, I think that's probably what it was. It's probably like they used cardboard and then like they're making paper mache stuff. Yeah. And it probably like he put too much concrete dust in it or something. To try to make it look smooth, right? And he like couldn't get out.
Yeah, and then he's like stuck in jail. So Anton says here that's what happens when they underestimate a bunch of criminals all together in one place. Yeah, and the thing is too is like they already, like we talked about earlier, they had already known each other from before. Yeah, like they were buddies, they were friends, so they already worked well with one another, and then they were like, it's like getting like your letter from the college, like did you get accepted? Like we all got accepted, yeah, So it's pretty crazy. It's pretty nuts. They didn't think that through.
Okay, so there was a sighting or what was claimed to be a sighting of them in Brazil, of the Anglin brothers.
Which I'm gonna do this here. Mm-hmm. And this is the Anglin brothers. That's John.
Yeah, John and Clarence.
John and Clarence. So we're gonna get these out so we can do a little bit
And I
of
think this
investigation.
photo was in the 80s. So this is like,
So,
20 years later.
I'm trying to figure out. I'm guessing this guy's this guy,
Maybe.
and this guy's
We'll move
this
it.
guy.
We'll put it there.
I think I'm gonna blow this up
And
so
now-
everybody can get a good look at this, and you guys can help us. Let us know in the comments what you think. They never.
who you think is who.
We're gonna cover up our faces for a moment. I mean, this
Yeah.
guy looks. I know you guys can't see my pointer.
It does look like him.
And then this guy here. I think that's what we're looking at. I mean, look at that.
So someone says, "Hey, those people that escaped from Alcatraz are famous. I saw them. They're in Brazil." And
Yeah.
they sent down federal agents and they couldn't find them.
Right.
So it could have been a hoax, or they could have gotten tipped off. We're not really sure.
Yeah.
But this was like someone claimed that they saw him. But also on top of that,
I'm gonna move this.
the Anglin sisters in 2012 came forth with a couple things, and they said their sister Marie said that shortly after the escape, that she said that John called her and said, "Hey, it's John. I made it out. I'm not gonna make it home." She said it was very, very brief, but said like, I'm okay. I made it out.
Right.
I just wanted to call you and let you know. And like she didn't tell anyone that for like, what is that, like 50 years or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also they said that every once in a while they would receive Christmas cards and letters, and it seemed like it talked like them and it was their handwriting.
I believe, also, I think it was his mother would get flowers.
Yeah, they would send his mother flowers.
Yeah.
And then also at their father's funeral.
Okay, Anton, get back to work. Love you. See you soon. By the way, I will be hitting you up soon because it's starting to warm up, and we have an awesome video idea in mind that we need.
We need you.
We need you.
We need you. We need you to be. in it.
You're the guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, anyway, be good.
So also, it was reported at their father's funeral, there was 2 men that showed up that were in obvious disguise. Like that's not a real beard, that's a wig, and like big sunglasses, and
Right.
They're like 2 people, and they said that they went up and looked at the casket, and one of them cried, and then they left.
Yeah.
And so that's weird, And then, the mother would get sent flowers. And then on top of that, in 2012, the San Francisco Police Department received a letter.
Yeah, this is my favorite one.
And he said, my name is John Anglin. I escaped from Alcatraz Penitentiary in 1962, and I have cancer. So I'm willing to surrender myself if I can get cancer treatment. And they didn't follow up on it because they thought it was a hoax.
Yeah. Well, they did DNA. There's nothing conclusive. I think they did ran DNA tests on everything, and they couldn't figure it out, which is weird.
But it's what are you gonna do? Did they keep his pillow or something?
Well,
And,
what it came down, I would
you
think
know?
what it came down to. Now, you guys can tell me if you think I'm wrong or whatnot. But I think it came down to money and resources. I think it was this guy's 80 years old. Really, what's it gonna do if we invest into his medical care and we invest into housing him? What's that gonna do?
Well, and also I think
It's long gone.
I'm imagining too, law enforcement wanted to save face, and they're like, well, we can't admit that this guy might be him because we told everyone that they're dead.
Right.
They died in 1962, the night they escaped.
Yeah.
So it is kind of weird that they're that they just kind of dismissed it, you know. But I know his family. There's several documentaries you can look up that they interview the Anglin family, and they're convinced. They're no, they made it out and they're alive. They're we have all this evidence, and they've talked to the FBI about what they knew, and it's fairly recently. So I think they made it out. I think they escaped. There's been a lot of FBI analysts that said people like this, they don't change, and like they're just going to turn into bank robbers again, and they're going to get caught again. And maybe that's true. I'm
You know how many
sure.
unsolved bank robberies there are after that?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it's like you escape from Alcatraz. Like you can probably do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You're really super smart.
or like you have everything. Like you might have stored some things. And you're like you had this big plan for like the end. You've already been into trouble this many times. What do you do?
Like Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, you know, this is my thing. So I mean, yeah, so it's unsolved to this day, but there's a lot of evidence pointing that they did make it.
I know the Mythbusters did an episode on it, and they went and like they made a raft out of the plans, because the plans for the raft was actually in an article in Popular Mechanic. That's why they came up with the idea, is they saw like, hey, if you're stranded on an island and you need to escape, you can make a raft out of raincoats, and this is how to do it.
Right.
And that actually does work. You actually you can raft that 1.25 miles safely, and you can swim it if something fails. It's not a lot of people can, but again, like if you're only thinking about escaping and working out every day, like it seems pretty viable.
Right.
So yeah, there's no reason to think that like they absolutely died, because no human could possibly survive.
No, I mean they
that,
found
you know
all
what
the
I mean?
evidence on Angel Island.
Yeah.
That to me
Yeah.
just says it.
Yeah.
Like what? Come on.
Yeah.
Anyway, let us know what you guys think in the comments, man. It's a very interesting story. There's all kinds of like subtle nuances between like, you know, what this person says to this person and like what it actually is. It's a lot of cool stuff to look into. But real quick, before we do our wrap up, I want to remind everybody that we have merch available over there on Roshambeaux or storefrontier.com/Roshambeaux. It's one of those days. You know what I mean? And all sizes are not guaranteed, but
I made you a new graphic.
you did.
I did.
I didn't even put the thumbnail at the beginning at the right place, man.
Well,
Don't blame me.
It's one of those days.
Don't blame me. But go
It is
check
one
it
of
out.
those
We've got great T-shirts over there, all different colors, different designs, hoodies. It's starting to warm up. I think we're gonna be getting our tank tops back in.
Yeah, I would
over there
say
as well.
like this is. I mean, maybe another week or two we'll have these available, and then we're gonna start looking at making other stuff.
Yeah. So go grab yours now. But what's our thoughts, man? I mean, like, you think it is?
I think
Yeah,
it escaped.
I think they totally
think
escaped.
they did.
Yeah, I don't think it's really much of a mystery anymore. Like from everything that I found, it was just like unsolved mystery. No, I think we solved it. We just didn't. They didn't find all
They
our
escaped.
care.
Solved.
Yeah.
See
it's
how
like
easy
one of
that
those weird
was?
ones.
Sign me up for the FBI.
The story of Alcatraz itself is interesting. I know, like, it was actually claimed by a Native American group after it shut down, and that was really interesting. They claimed it as some part of some treaty. So if you like look at the whole life of Alcatraz Island, it's really interesting. I think it was like with the Spanish as well during the gold rush. That was the first mark, and they were the ones who called it like Alcatraz or something.
It sounds Spanish, doesn't it?
Yeah, well they did.
Alcatraz.
Yeah, it was like claimed by the Spaniards, and then we took the name. It was like it's Alcatraz instead of whatever.
I know they called it the Rock for a while.
Yeah, that was like the
slang,
the
the
nickname.
nickname.
Yeah, for it.
And then the inmates supposedly called it Hellcatraz.
Yeah, or Devil's Island. I've
Yeah.
heard that one. That's a good one. But you know, I think it's not really a question. I think they escaped. I think that they got away. I think that that's just people not wanting to admit that they messed up, and they don't want this story of their prison to be.
Yeah, it's like hubris. It's like it's like it's like the people that built the Titanic were like, I can't sink.
Yeah.
The people that built Alcatraz, no one can escape from it. You know?
Yeah, they can.
Yeah.
And they did. And they did. So, we want to thank everybody over there on Patreon. You guys are the reason we are able to continue to do stuff like this. I know we missed out on last week. Kyle was sick. I blame him. But we'll be back next week, I believe, right? We're back here next week. I believe, what's the week that we are taking off? Are we taking?
We're taking off the last week of March.
Last week of March.
Yeah.
We won't be here. But if you go over to Patreon and check it out, we just released the brand new cover video for the Bowie song, I'm Afraid of Americans. Really happy with how that turned out. We're going to be moving that one to the front of the line for the live performance. We're going to be playing it tomorrow night in Charleston. I almost said Chattanooga.
Almost said Chattanooga.
Almost said it.
We'll be in Chattanooga pretty soon.
But for the $5 minimum on that one, you're able to get in there and request your own song, see if we make that one. And we have a brand new patron this week, right? JT Villain, you are
Awesome.
awesome.
And also, I wanted to say,
He put a request in, and it's hilarious.
Oh my God.
I'm kind of excited.
I'm excited and a little afraid.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also, I did want to say, if you want to kind of get a sneak preview of what's on there, there's a bunch of trailers on this channel.
Yeah.
We released a trailer, about a week or two after the release on Patreon of saying, like, this is available on Patreon. And then also, we do release some of these covers onto YouTube, and we actually just released our version of Gnarls Barkley's Crazy.
Crazy. It's crazy.
And I think we might do that one tomorrow
Yeah.
live as well.
Yeah, we're doing it.
But you can go check that out on our channel. That one's available for everyone on YouTube.
Just read little things there. There's something in there for you. Even as little as $1, man, it goes a long way. We love you guys. But I think that does it for us, you guys. Thanks for tuning in here with us. I know the chat was a little light tonight, but hey, you skip out on a week and people are like, hey.
It's St. Patrick's Day.
And St. Patrick's Day, people are like
Everyone's out.
chasing snakes.
Drinking green beer.
Yeah, not wearing green. There's green in the eyes.
Yeah, there's green. Yeah, there's a little green there.
There's a little green there. I got green here.
There you go.
You should see my my thong I have on. It's green. I'll show it to you after this.
I personally like to go get crunk on Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's a whole thing.
go out and get drunk.
Yeah.
Kiss me on black.
Kiss me on black.
We gotta start doing that. We gotta start doing that. Absolutely.
But thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back again here next Thursday. If you're in the Roshambeaux fam on Facebook, make sure you go over there and let us know, or comment down below and let us know what you guys want to hear us talk about next. What are some cool, interesting topics that you want us to cover? What are you up to?
Yeah.
Tell me how your mom's doing.
How's your mom and them?
I haven't seen your mom in ages. So, but until then, we'll see you guys next Thursday. Take care. Love you guys.
Bye.